Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Days Podcast along with a new video. So I have a new Patreon video now. You guys can check it out, like, subscribe, and of course enjoy. It is a full story time where I am talking about Aaliyah. And yes, it's over 40 minutes. You guys can get into it. I will possibly make longer videos on Patreon too. It all depends on the topic, how much we can be able to get into at a time. So yeah, I want to be able to get into this. Let's get into this new video here. Yes, so definitely subscribe. It is also on Spotify as well. So if you feel as though you want to be able to just have more of a Spotify experience rather than Patreon, where you don't feel as though you need to visually see me, you can just listen to it on Spotify. It is there as well, along with all of the episodes. So whichever you decide. You do not have to do both. I just wanted to make it to where if those that use Spotify a lot and don't really look at Patreon, they can have the experience where they can listen to everything along with Patreon exclusives for the same price as if you were on Patreon. Why not? I'm real. I don't got time to play games with none of y'all. Okay, like you can do both and see both, or you can do one or the other. It don't matter. So let's get into this new video. In new episode, we are talking about Michael Jackson's Dangerous. So this is his 8th studio album. It was released November 26, 1991. So I had already talked about Off the Wall, Thriller, and Recently Bad. So where he started recording, where it says June 1989, he is 30 down, okay? And I'm 30 now, so it's just like, it's just, he was going on 31, and he was just saying to himself, like, all right, it's time to do something new. Really new, like, away from what I'm used to, but who I am, and just new. It's time for something new. Where more than 4 years after Jackson's previous album. So he took some time in his 30s to make this. He wanted to make sure, like, no, I need a change. And this is a similar transition when it came to where he was originally with Motown and went with, going into a new era where it was like, all right, it's off the wall. And now where it's dangerous. Okay, it's just a new time. So the album was Jackson's first since Forever Michael, without longtime collaborator Quincy Jones. Guest appearances include Heavy D, Slash, Rack-N-Effect, Princess Stephanie of Monaco. The album incorporates R&B, pop, and New Jack Swing, a growing genre at the time. Elements of industrial funk, hip-hop, electronic, gospel, classical, and rock are also present. 12 of the album's 14 songs were written or co-written by Jackson, discussing topics like racism, poverty, romance, self-improvement, multiculturalism, and the welfare of children and the world. So this was a really retrospective album for him, and similar to what I talked about with Janet, where it was like she's going into her 30s and she's dipping into depression, and you can love who you want. This was pretty much Michael, where that was, him leading that in a much broader stance, because he also was dealing with his own depression and dealing with things at this time that he didn't always talk about. But when it was just to a point where it was like, no, y'all gonna get the tea, he let us know. Like, he was like, no, like, people are trying me. Dangerous is considered an artistic change for Jackson, with his music focusing on more socially conscious material and including a broader range, like I said, of sounds and styles. It features catchy pop hooks and choruses while also introducing underground sounds to a mainstream audience. The album's tone is noted by critics as gritty and urban, with sounds including synthetic bassline scratching and drum machine percussion, as well as unconventional sounds like honking vehicle horns, sliding chains, swinging gates, breaking glass, and clanking metal. Jackson also incorporates beatboxing, scat singing, and finger snapping through the album. Dangerous debuted at #1 on the U.S. Billboard chart and in 13 other countries, selling 5 million copies worldwide in its first week. Okay? He said, bitch, I'm still very much here. I'm very much relevant. I'm in my 30s. Yes, it's not ABC no more. I'm going off. Okay? And at that time, people felt like he's just doing so much pop music. Can he really relate to black people? And then he looks different. And it's like, so fucking what? So what? What? You know what? So anyway, and went on to be the best-selling album worldwide of 1992. By 1994, Dangerous had sold 25 million copies worldwide. So by the time I'm coming here, he already sold 25 million. It's beyond diamond. So, you know, I'm loving how this is coming together, because it's like this era, you know, is bringing in the 90s, you know, and you know, for the first albums that I talked about for him so far, you know, it was late 70s and just 80s. So talking about this, it's resonating with me a little, because it's like I'm a 90s baby, of course, but you know, it's just good. 9 singles premiered between November 1991 and December 1993. And I'm 5 months shy from that, okay? He was still putting out singles. Including one exclusively released outside North America, Given to Me. See, and we needed that out here. I don't know what was going on where he couldn't have that out here. But yeah, December 1st was when that was released in 93. But that should have been out here too. The album produced 4 singles that reached the top 10 of the US Hot 100. Remember the Time, In the Closet, Will You Be There, and the #1 single, Black or White. The Dangerous World Tour grossed 100 million, which equivalent to right now would be, well, not right now, but as of 2023, 211 million. So he made money. Dangerous is one of the best-selling albums of all time, having sold over 32 million copies worldwide, and was certified 8 times platinum by the Recording Academy in August 2018. Dangerous received worldwide praise, and it influenced contemporary pop and R&B artists. It has been included in several publications lists of the greatest albums of all time. At the 1993 Grammy Awards, it received 4 Grammy Award nominations, winning Best Engineered Album, Non-Classical, while Jackson was awarded the Grammy Legend Award. It was a big deal, because he was breaking through more barriers that people were not witnessing, that are now where people are like, Michael did that. Like, yeah. Okay? Because there's people that were still kind of doing things in a way that, you know, when you look at it now, is a little outdated. He was timeless, okay? He just knew there were just certain sounds, there was certain ways of just cooperating the artistry that could test time. He just knew. And he gets the credit, but he doesn't get enough. Especially in the 90s, there was so much going on with him personally. That wasn't okay to me, and as a Michael Jackson fan, in which we will talk about on Patreon and Spotify. So yeah, because with Aaliyah, I had talked about pretty much allegedly the things that, has happened, and rest in peace to her, and just to him as well. It's just so sad. It received worldwide praise, and it influenced contemporary pop and R&B artists. It has been included in several publications, yes. And he won 3 American Music Awards at the 1993 American Music Awards, including the inaugural, I don't know how to say that, y'all, International Artist Award. Jackson also received Billboard Music Award. He received awards for Best Worldwide Album and Best Worldwide Single for Black and White. But yeah, there was a lot that was going on in the 90s, and he persevered. He was not playing no games, child. After the success of his 7th album, Bad, he wanted more independence and control over the creative process. And that's understanding, because it's like, you're 30, you're toured, you're feeling like, I've just done so much, and I get it. And there's still so much more to do. Yeah, I get it. I want to do things a way I want to do them. And I can do that. And I get it from his point of view. He's Michael Jackson. He separated himself from longtime producer Quincy Jones to avoid the perception that his success depended on him. And that's true. Because this is why, even in this day and age, when you say to yourself, well, this artist has money and this artist debuted here, it's like, okay, that's cool, but who do they really rely on? Do they really rely on the fans, or are they really relying on what is marketed and what is perceived to be for what the public could be able to take? I guess like that's what I'm getting here. It's just like, you don't want to have so much more to give, and you say to yourself, even if you want to change 1 or 2 things, after a while it becomes a project that's not fully yours. And we're learning that in all genres, whether it's rap, pop, everything. We're just learning that now, where it's like, you are crediting things over time when it comes to certain people. And you say to yourself, if you do it all yourself, everyone acknowledges that in such a bigger way, because it is you. It didn't have to take this person, and it didn't have to take the mindset of where someone was thinking when you thought something different for it to pop, and that's, pun intended, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to just not be as pop, but real pop in a sense where it's more than just pop for me, and I want to market it my way. And I get it. He began working on new tracks in 1989 with a handful of members from the B team of Bad, and the album was conceived as a greatest hits collection decade with a handful of new songs similar to Madonna's collection. He signed off on the idea in early 1989, and test pressings were made by Epic Records. He received $18 million in advance. Decade was scheduled, so it was originally going to be Decade, huh? Yeah, so he was working on new tracks in 1989 with a handful of with the team that he was working with already. Um, and the album was conceived as a greatest hits collection. It was just gonna have songs that was already great, and then it was just gonna be like, you know, new songs, and then, you know, a new album when he was gonna get done, because it was already 10 years, so there was gonna be something by 1989, because we already had something by 1987, which makes sense. And so you say to yourself, he did that for the next album, History. And instead of it being, you know, a greatest hits and a handful of tracks, he gave us a double album. He gave us a greatest hits album with a new album as one. Legend. And I will talk about that album. I will. And so, yes, originally Dangerous was called Decade, which was originally gonna be History, but we have History, which is from Dangerous because of what originally was gonna be Decade. You see how this man works? You don't play with him. Scheduled for the late 1989 release, but was delayed several times. Another release date was set for November 1990, but it never was materialized. Jackson was preoccupied with ongoing changes in his management team, while also attempting to realize his filmmaking ambitions. So he wanted to direct more music videos. He wanted to do more abstract things. And being on Neverland Ranch, yes, you know, there's more excitement that he's taking in from after touring and being with family, and just, no, I want to be able to really get out there, and I can see it, and I'm here for it. In June 1990, he collapsed while dancing in his home studio due to a possible panic attack, with symptoms of chest pains. He had chest pains, dehydration, and inflammation of the ribs. Soon after, Decade was dropped entirely, and Jackson determined that his new material constituted a full album, which he called Dangerous. He was not feeling well. When they're saying chest pains, dehydration, you're not drinking enough water, you know, and inflammation in the ribs, like that's over here, like all this is just from touring too. He went from coming back from touring to just be like, all right, next music, and it's like, wait a minute, let's and unfortunately, you know, a lot of people around him, which is why I'm seeing the fact that he wanted to change management, they were just like, no, Michael, you got this, go, all right, well, you know, we're home, let's do, and it's just like, wait a minute now, I'm not okay right now, okay, and I get it. Yeah, for nearly 2 years, starting in late 1989, recording took place in Sherman Oaks, $4,000 per day. Most work proceeded with 3 producers in different studios with Jackson. Yes. Jackson discovered New Jack Swing. He started working with Babyface, Teddy Riley, and he planned to have a duet with Madonna, but her half was replaced instead. And you know what? Good. Because his sister was a better duet later. Period. He spent $10 million to record Dangerous. And he recorded roughly 60 to 70 songs, some of which were released later. So there's still plenty of songs left from Dangerous alone that can be released. So this man is never gone. He's forever here at this point. Forever Michael. So anyway, and I'm saying this with pride because, you know, a lot of people really criticized this man in this time and was saying really negative things that was not going on. And he was really stressed and going through things that was personally affecting him. And with that, you know, respectfully as a fan, you know, it's not okay. Because the things that were accused of him back in the day and everyone was riding it and getting money or whatever case may be, nowadays it's Me Too. Nowadays it's Black Lives Matter, and as it should be, because it's like this should have been a long time ago. A long time ago. I'm happy victims and people are being able to speak out and be able to talk about the things that need to be talked about, because they do. They have to be. Wrong is wrong, right is right. And I know this man didn't do no wrong to nobody. We can talk more about that again on the Patreon, but with story time. Yeah, the lyrics, the New Jack Swing R&B and pop album is what it is, and it incorporates all these other genres and just new different styles. The artwork. See, we didn't talk about artworks and all the other ones, all the other albums. Great albums, I should say. So I'll talk about it here while we're already so far in. When I think of Off the Wall and he's just standing there in the brick wall and just, he's so happy. You know, it just shows the fact that, like, you know, I'm not going nowhere. I'm just getting started. And then with Thriller, where he's just calm and he's sitting, he's in his early 20s, it just really, it personified the fact that you just can't mess with me. Like, I'm him. You know, like, there's just the way that he was sitting and the way that music was hitting, that it was just like, this is the album. This is, yeah. And as far as Bad, where he's standing and it's a white background and he has black on, and it's just, you know, it's just, he's taking control. And with this artwork right here for Dangerous, where it's just eyes. He just wants you to look at what you see. What do you see? What do you hear? Okay? And there's a lot of symbolism that we can talk about in story time too with these album covers as well, because there is some. But yeah, the singles did well, and the album it received critical praise upon release. The Rolling Stone was a man, they said it was a man no longer a man-child, confronting his well-publicized demons and achieving transcendence through performance. Yes, so this album was letting people know, like, I'm a grown-ass man. Stop fucking with me. Bad was letting people know a warning, because I'm going on 30, but this is like I'm in my 30s. Like, no, I'm stop. Like, this is stupid now. Like, what are you doing? You know, I don't care what you guys feel about how I look. I'ma still look fucking great. But and listen, his hair, okay? He had his hair long. Listen. But yes, he did so well. Let's talk about the track list. So there's Jam, there's Why You Wanna Trip on Me, In the Closet, She Drives Me Wild, Remember the Time, Can't Let Her Get Away, and Heal the World. So Heal the World, you know, that was a magical song for him, and he wrote it himself, you know. Black or White, and then Who Is It he also wrote himself. That is fan favorites across the board. It's one of my favorites. I know special people in my life that love that song, and they appreciate the rawness, and I do too. It goes there, and Given to Me, which is pretty much its twin, but just getting a little bit more grittier rather than just like, vocally not trying to be as classical. It's more or less just like, just like get in there, like, love is a feeling. Okay, but Will You Be There was the next song. And then there's Keep the Faith. Gone Too Soon is a very sad song. He did not write that song, but it's a very sad song. It touched him. And Gone Too Soon was a song he had dedicated to a special fan, I'm recalling. And yeah, life's too short, y'all. Love who you love, be with who you want to be with, be happy. Just don't be running around being mean for no reason, and not even for a reason. No, why be mean for what? That's why this man was going through a lot, because people were mean. People were mean to him for no reason. This man was rich. They were taking his money, and he was creating so much. So the last song, Dangerous, it's 7 minutes long. Okay, he was going off. He said, listen, I'm gonna give them an ending. The ending is the title track. But there's just so much of an infusion of different songs in this album that when you have Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous, you're like looking at all four. Like when you set all four of them in one room, like all four of these men in one room, that does anyone want to leave the room? When you put all four of these men in one room, does anyone leave the room? I don't think I want to leave the room. And then to know there's still albums that are there's still albums I need to talk about. So mind you, and I mean, I'm saying I don't want to leave the room for the music, for the sake of how they would interact. Like, wait a minute. Off the Wall Michael is definitely looking at Bad Michael like, oh. And Thriller Michael is looking at Dangerous Michael like, oh. Because when you look at either one, and why I said it in that sequence, they're about 10 years apart. Or about 9 to 10 years apart. So it's like looking at one side of what another would be like. You just did what I did, but a step further. Because there is disco sense in Bad, as opposed to, a still rocky pop sense with Dangerous. So it's just, he did so much. But yes, this is the end of the episode and video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will definitely, of course, talk about history, and I will definitely be back with more.